I was speaking at a corporate event in Mumbai last month, and after my talk, a young woman came up to me. She was probably in her late 20s, well dressed, clearly intelligent and capable. But her face showed something else: exhaustion, frustration, a kind of weariness that had nothing to do with physical tiredness. She waited patiently until everyone else had left, and then she said something that has stayed with me ever since. She said, Gopal Das, I'm so tired. I'm exhausted from trying to make everyone like me. At work, I say yes to every project even when I'm overwhelmed because I don't want anyone to think I'm not a team player. With my family, I agree to everything they want even when it goes against what I truly want because I don't want to disappoint them. With my friends, I pretend to enjoy activities I don't like because I don't want to be excluded. On social media, I carefully curate everything I post to make sure nobody could possibly be offended or judgmental. I've twisted myself into so many shapes trying to please everyone that I don't even know what my actual shape is anymore. And you know what the worst part is? Despite all this effort, despite sacrificing myself constantly, some people still don't like me. Some people still criticize me, judge me, talk about me behind my back. I've destroyed myself trying to gain approval, and I still don't have universal approval. What am I doing wrong? I looked at this young woman, and I could see she was on the verge of tears, not because she was weak, but because she was carrying an impossible burden. She was trying to do something that no human being has ever successfully done in the history of humanity, be liked by everyone, and she was killing herself in the process, killing her authenticity, her peace, her joy, her very sense of self. All for an impossible goal that, even if achieved, would leave her hollow because she would have become someone she wasn't. And I asked her a question that seemed to surprise her. I said, let me ask you something. Who is the most universally beloved person you can think of? Someone who has done tremendous good in the world? She thought for a moment and said, maybe Mother Teresa or Mahatma Gandhi. And I said, excellent examples. Now, were they universally liked? Did everyone approve of them? She paused, really thinking about it, and slowly her face changed as she realized the truth. No, she said quietly. Mother Teresa was criticized by some people. Gandhi had people who hated him, who even killed him eventually. Exactly, I said. If these people who dedicated their entire lives to service, who operated from the highest principles, who did immeasurable good in the world, if they couldn't get everyone to like them, what makes you think you can? What makes any of us think we can? The quest for universal approval is not just difficult, it's impossible. It's chasing something that doesn't exist, has never existed, and will never exist. And in the process of chasing this impossible thing, you're losing something very real and very precious yourself. I watched as this realization washed over her. It was like watching someone put down a boulder they'd been carrying for years. Her shoulders literally relaxed, and she said, so you're saying, it's okay if some people don't like me? And I smiled and said, I'm saying more than that. I'm saying it's inevitable that some people won't like you. It's guaranteed. It's mathematically certain. And once you accept this, once you truly internalize this truth, you become free. Free to be yourself. Free to make choices based on your values rather than others' approval. Free to live authentically rather than performing for an audience. Let them hate you, because their hatred of you is not about you, it's about them. And your peace, your authenticity, your integrity are too valuable to sacrifice for the impossible task of making everyone happy. She stood there quietly for a moment, processing this, and then she asked, but how do I do that? How do I stop caring what people think? How do I become okay with being disliked? And I told her what I'm going to share with you today. Because this isn't just her struggle. This is the struggle of almost every person I meet. the exhausting, soul-crushing, impossible burden of trying to be liked by everyone, and the liberation that comes when you finally give yourself permission to let them hate you. As she walked away that evening, I could see something had shifted in her. Not that she had all the answers, but that she had been given permission to stop trying to be everything to everyone. Permission to accept that disapproval is inevitable and that's okay. Permission to prioritize her own authenticity over others' approval. And I thought to myself how many people need to hear this message. How many people are destroying themselves trying to achieve universal approval. How many people have forgotten who they actually are because they've been so busy being who they think others want them to be. Because here's what I've observed over years of counseling people, over years of interacting with thousands of individuals from every background imaginable, the people who are most at peace, most successful, most genuinely happy are not the ones who are universally liked. They're the ones who have made peace with being disliked. They're the ones who have accepted that no matter what they do, some people won't approve, and having accepted this, they're free to make authentic choices, free to set boundaries, free to pursue their true path, free to be themselves without apology or modification. And on the other side, the people who are most miserable, most anxious, most lost, are often the ones who are trying the hardest to please everyone. They're shape-shifters, constantly adjusting themselves based on who they're with and what they think that person wants from them. They have no solid center because they've sacrificed their center at the altar of approval. They're exhausted from the performance, and despite all this effort, they're still criticized, still judged, still disliked by some. So they've paid the highest price, their authenticity, and gotten nothing in return except anxiety and emptiness. Now, before we go deeper, I need to clarify something very important because the title of this talk, Let Them Hate You, could be misunderstood. I'm not saying be deliberately provocative. I'm not saying be rude or unkind or inconsiderate. I'm not saying you should go around actively trying to make people hate you. I'm not advocating for being a difficult person or lacking empathy or burning bridges unnecessarily. That would be immature and counterproductive. What I'm saying is this: when you live authentically, when you set healthy boundaries, when you make choices based on your values rather than others' approval, when you speak your truth respectfully, when you pursue your path, even if it's unconventional, some people will not like it. Some people will criticize you. Some people will judge you. Some people will be disappointed in you. Some people will actively dislike you. And you need to be okay with that. You need to let them have their feelings without contorting yourself to change those feelings. You need to accept that their disapproval is the price of your authenticity, and it's a price worth paying. This isn't about being offensive. It's about being real. It's not about being mean. It's about being true. It's not about being difficult. It's about being yourself, even when being yourself means disappointing someone's expectations. Because here's the fundamental truth: you cannot be yourself and have everyone like you. These two things are mutually exclusive. You can be yourself, or you can have universal approval. Pick one. You cannot have both. Think about it. The moment you truly be yourself with your opinions, your boundaries, your quirks, your choices, your path, you will inevitably encounter people who disagree with your opinions, who are offended by your boundaries, who don't understand your quirks, who judge your choices, who think you should be on a different path. This is not a bug. This is a feature. This is how human diversity works. We're all different. What resonates with some will repel others. What some find admirable, others will find questionable. What some respect, others will criticize. And in our spiritual tradition, this is beautifully illustrated in the Mahabharata. Lord Krishna, the divine incarnation, the source of the Bhagavad Gita, the embodiment of wisdom and compassion, Was he universally liked? No, the Kauravas hated him, some people called him manipulative, some accused him of being partial, some criticized his methods. Here was the divine in human form, and still not everyone approved. If divinity itself couldn't get universal approval, what hope do mere mortals have? Or think about any truly transformative figure in history. Buddha, Jesus, Prophet Muhammad, Socrates, Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., Nelson Mandela. Every single one of them was deeply loved by some and intensely hated by others. Every single one of them faced criticism, opposition, judgment. Every single one of them had people who thought they were wrong, dangerous, misguided, and yet they changed the world. Not by trying to make everyone like them, but by staying true to their purpose even when it meant being disliked, criticized, and sometimes even killed. This is the paradox. The people who have the greatest positive impact are often the ones who are willing to be most disliked. Because they're not diluting their message or compromising their values or adjusting their path to gain approval. They're saying what needs to be said even when it's unpopular. They're doing what needs to be done even when it's criticized. They're being who they are even when it makes others uncomfortable. And this authenticity, this integrity, this unwillingness to bend to popular opinion, this is what makes them powerful and impactful. But most of us, we're trying to be liked by everyone. We're trying to offend no one. We're trying to fit into everyone's box. And in doing so, we become bland, generic, inauthentic, forgettable. We dilute ourselves so much that there's nothing distinctive left. We're trying to be everything to everyone and end up being nothing to anyone, including ourselves. So let's talk about why this is such a widespread problem. Why are so many people trapped in this exhausting cycle of seeking universal approval? What's driving this compulsive need to be liked by everyone? The first problem is that we've been conditioned from childhood to seek approval. Think about how children are raised. Be good so people will like you. Don't do that. What will others think? Make your parents proud. Make your teachers happy. We're praised when we comply and criticized when we don't. The entire education system is built on seeking approval from authority figures. Social media has amplified this to an extreme. Likes, comments, followers, all numerical measurements of approval. We've been trained our entire lives to measure our worth by others' approval. I see this particularly in young people today. They're absolutely paralyzed by the fear of being disliked. They won't express an opinion that might be controversial. They won't post something that might get negative comments. They won't pursue a path their parents don't approve of. They won't set boundaries that might upset someone. They're living in constant fear of disapproval, and this fear is preventing them from living authentic lives. The second problem is that we mistake being liked for being loved. These are not the same thing. Being liked is superficial. It's based on you being pleasant, agreeable, non-threatening. Being loved is deep. It's based on people knowing and accepting the real you, flaws and all. But many people chase being liked by many rather than being truly loved by a few. They collect acquaintances who have positive opinions of their persona, rather than cultivating deep relationships with people who know and accept their authentic self. I counseled a man recently who had hundreds of friends on social media, was invited to numerous social gatherings, was considered popular and well liked, but he came to me feeling profoundly lonely, and as we talked, it became clear why. Nobody actually knew him. He had carefully constructed a persona that was likable, always positive, never controversial, always available, always agreeable. But this persona was not really him. So while many people liked his persona, nobody loved the real him because nobody knew the real him. He had traded authentic connection for superficial approval, and he was paying the price in loneliness and emptiness. The third problem is that we underestimate the diversity of human values and perspectives. We somehow think that if we're just good enough, just kind enough, just successful enough, everyone will naturally like us. But this ignores the reality that people have wildly different values, preferences, and perspectives. What you value might be exactly what someone else dislikes. Your strengths might be what someone else sees as weaknesses. Your path might be exactly what someone else thinks is wrong. For example, if you value ambition and work hard towards success, some people will admire this while others will call you materialistic. If you value simplicity and choose a modest lifestyle, some will respect this while others will call you unambitious. If you speak your mind directly, some will appreciate your honesty while others will call you rude. If you're diplomatic and careful, some will value your tact while others will call you fake. There's literally no way to be that will gain universal approval because people disagree on what's admirable. The fourth problem is that seeking universal approval requires constant self-betrayal. Every time you say yes when you mean no, you betray yourself. Every time you hide your true opinion to avoid conflict, you betray yourself. Every time you pursue something you don't want because someone else wants it for you, you betray yourself. Every time you stay in a situation that's harming you because leaving would disappoint someone, you betray yourself. And enough self-betrayals accumulated over time don't just damage your relationship with yourself, they destroy it. You end up as a stranger to yourself. I met a woman in her 50s who had spent her entire life trying to please her parents. She studied what they wanted her to study, even though she had different interests. She married whom they approved of, even though she didn't love him. She took a job they considered respectable, even though it drained her soul. She lived in a city they wanted her in, even though she longed for somewhere else. And now, in her 50s, her parents had passed away. Her marriage was loveless. Her job was unfulfilling, and she sat in my presence asking, "Who am I? What do I actually want? I've spent 50 years living someone else's life, and now I don't even know what my own life would look like." The cost of seeking parental approval for 50 years was her entire self. The fifth problem is that disapproval is often a sign you're doing something right. This sounds counterintuitive, but think about it. If you set a healthy boundary and someone gets angry, that anger is often because your boundary is preventing them from using you. If you pursue an unconventional path and people criticize you, that criticism is often rooted in their own fear or regret about not having the courage to pursue their own unconventional path. If you speak a truth that needs to be spoken and people react negatively, that reaction is often because the truth makes them uncomfortable. So disapproval is not always a sign you're wrong. Often it's a sign you're threatening someone's comfort, challenging someone's assumptions, or refusing to let someone control you. And if you constantly adjust yourself to avoid all disapproval, you'll end up staying small, staying quiet, staying stuck, staying compliant. You'll never grow, never stand up for anything, never be truly yourself. The sixth problem is the misunderstanding of what true kindness is. Many people think kindness means never upsetting anyone, always being agreeable, constantly accommodating others' wants. But this is not kindness, this is people pleasing. True kindness sometimes means saying no. True kindness sometimes means disappointing someone for their own good or your own well-being. True kindness sometimes means setting boundaries that upset someone. True kindness means caring about people while still maintaining your integrity and authenticity. I've seen parents destroy their relationship with their children by never saying no, always trying to be the cool parent that their kids like rather than the effective parent their kids need. I've seen managers fail their teams by being so concerned with being liked that they avoid difficult conversations and accountability. I've seen friends enable each other's destructive behaviors because they're too afraid of disapproval to speak honestly. This isn't kindness, this is cowardice masquerading as niceness. So these are the problems: conditioned approval, seeking, confusing being liked with being loved, underestimating human diversity, requiring constant self, betrayal, misinterpreting disapproval, and misunderstanding kindness. And the cumulative effect: people living inauthentic lives, exhausted from constant performance, empty despite being externally approved of, anxious about maintaining their persona, and ultimately miserable despite their best efforts to make everyone happy. But there's a better way, and that's what I want to share with you now: how to give yourself permission to be disliked, how to prioritize authenticity over approval, how to live from your center rather than from others' expectations. The first solution is accepting the mathematical reality that universal approval is impossible. Really sit with this. It's not that you've failed if everyone doesn't like you. It's that everyone liking you is literally impossible. Even if you were perfect, which you're not because nobody is, even perfection wouldn't be universally liked because people disagree on what perfection looks like. So if you're being disliked by some people, congratulations. You're experiencing the normal human condition. Every person who has ever lived has been disliked by some people. You're not special in being disliked. You're normal. Once you deeply accept this, something liberating happens. The question shifts from "how can I make everyone like me?" to "who are the people whose opinions actually matter to me, and am I living in alignment with my values?" The question becomes not "am I universally approved of?" but "am I being true to myself while treating others with respect?" This shift in question changes everything. The second solution is identifying your core values and using them as your compass rather than others' approval. Sit down and really clarify what matters most to you. Not what your parents think should matter, not what society says should matter, not what gets the most likes on social media. What actually matters to you: is it integrity, creativity, family, service, growth, freedom, authenticity? Identify your top 5 values and write them down. Now, when facing a decision, instead of asking "what will make people like me?" ask "what aligns with my value?" If setting a boundary aligns with your value of self-respect but will disappoint someone, you set the boundary. If pursuing a creative path aligns with your values but others think it's impractical, you pursue it anyway. If speaking up aligns with your value of integrity but might make you unpopular, you speak up. Your values become your North Star, and others' approval becomes irrelevant. The third solution is distinguishing between people whose opinions matter and people whose opinions don't. Not everyone's opinion deserves equal weight. Your life partner's opinion matters, your mentor's opinion matters, your close friend who genuinely wants your well-being, their opinion matters, but the random person who barely knows you and judges you, the relative who projects their own regrets onto you, the stranger on the internet who criticizes you, their opinions don't matter. They don't know you, they don't live your life, they won't face the consequences of your choices. So why would you adjust your life based on their opinions? Create 2 lists. List 1: people whose opinions I deeply value because they know me well, want the best for me, and demonstrate wisdom. This list should be very short, maybe 5 to 10 people maximum. List 2: everyone else. Now commit to this. You'll consider input from list 1. you'll completely disregard disapproval from list 2. This clarity alone will dramatically reduce your anxiety about being disliked. The fourth solution is developing a strong sense of self that's independent of others' opinions. Who are you when nobody's watching? What do you believe when there's no one to impress? What do you want when you're not trying to please anyone? These questions are crucial because if you don't know who you are independent of others' opinions, you'll be constantly blown about by every breeze of approval or disapproval. But if you have a solid sense of self cultivated through self-reflection, spiritual practice, therapy, journaling, meditation, then others' opinions become interesting data points rather than identity defining verdicts. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna teaches Arjuna about being sthita-prajna, established in the self, unshaken by external circumstances. This doesn't mean being unfeeling or isolated. It means being so grounded in your own truth that praise doesn't inflate you and criticism doesn't deflate you. You remain steady because your sense of self comes from within, not from without. The fifth solution is reframing disapproval as information rather than as rejection. When someone doesn't like you or criticizes you, you have choices in how to interpret this. Interpretation 1. Something is wrong with me. I'm not good enough. I need to change myself. This interpretation leads to anxiety and self-betrayal. Interpretation 2. This person and I have different values/preferences/perspectives. That's okay. We don't have to resonate. Their disapproval doesn't mean I'm wrong, it just means we're different. This interpretation leads to peace and authenticity. Sometimes disapproval might contain useful feedback. If multiple people you trust tell you you're being genuinely unkind or dishonest, that's worth considering. But if someone disapproves of you for setting boundaries, for being yourself, for making choices they wouldn't make, that's not about you being wrong. That's just about you being different from them. And different is okay, different is normal, different is necessary. The sixth solution is practicing small acts of authenticity daily. Don't try to overhaul your entire life overnight. Start small. Order what you actually want at a restaurant instead of what you think others expect. Express a respectful disagreement instead of always nodding along. Say no to one request that doesn't align with your priorities. Wear something you like even if it's not trendy. Share an honest opinion on something minor. These small acts build your authenticity muscle. And as you notice that the world doesn't end when you're authentic, when people's disapproval doesn't destroy you, you become braver about bigger acts of authenticity. The seventh solution is surrounding yourself with people who appreciate the real you. As you become more authentic, you'll naturally attract people who resonate with your authentic self and repel people who only liked your persona. This is good, this is healthy, quality over quantity. Better to have 5 people who truly know and love you than 500 people who like a false version of you. Seek out communities, friendships, and relationships where you can be real. Where you don't have to perform, where you're celebrated for being yourself, not for meeting their expectations. Now, let me give you specific commitments, practices you can implement immediately to free yourself from the prison of approval seeking. First commitment, the values clarity exercise. This week, write down your core values. Then, for the next 30 days, before making any significant decision, ask yourself, does this align with my values or with seeking approval? If it's the latter, consciously choose the values, aligned path, even if it means disapproval. Keep a journal of these choices. You're training yourself to prioritize integrity over approval. Second commitment, the opinion audit. Make your two lists: opinions that matter vs. opinions that don't. Put the list somewhere visible. Every time you find yourself anxious about someone's opinion, check which list they're on. If they're on list 2, literally tell yourself, their opinion is irrelevant to me. I release my need for their approval. This sounds simple, but it's powerful. You're consciously redirecting your mental energy. Third commitment, the authentic no. For the next 30 days, say no to at least one thing per week that you would normally say yes to out of people pleasing. Start small if needed. No, I can't attend that event. No, I can't take on that project. No, I don't want to do that activity. Notice that the world doesn't end. Notice that your relationships survive. Notice that setting boundaries actually creates more respect, not less. Fourth commitment, the daily authenticity practice. Every day, do one small thing that's authentic to you, even if it might not be universally approved. Express a minor preference. Share a quirk. State an honest opinion on something low stakes. Wear something that represents your style. You're building the habit of authenticity in small ways, preparing for bigger ways. Fifth commitment, the self-compassion practice when disapproved of. When someone expresses disapproval of you, instead of immediately trying to fix yourself or win them over, practice this. This person disapproves of me, and that's okay. I can't control their feelings. I can only control my integrity. If I'm being true to my values and treating people with respect, their disapproval is their right, but not my responsibility. Write this statement somewhere accessible and repeat it when needed. Sixth commitment, the social media boundary. If social media is a major source of your approval seeking, and for most people it is, set new boundaries. Limit time on these platforms. Don't post things just to get approval. Consider a break entirely for 30 days. Notice how much mental energy you reclaim when you're not constantly checking if people approve of what you posted. Seventh commitment, the integrity over image mantra. Choose a personal mantra related to this theme. Maybe it's integrity over approval. Maybe it's let them hate me, I'll stay true to me. Maybe it's I cannot be everyone's cup of tea. Whatever resonates. Say it every morning. Say it when you're tempted to betray yourself for approval. Let it become your automatic response to approval. Seeking impulses. Eighth commitment, the quarterly relationship review. Every 3 months, review your relationships honestly. Are there relationships where you're exhausting yourself trying to gain approval that's never coming? Are there people who only like you when you're agreeable and compliant? Consider whether these relationships are worth maintaining or whether you need to create distance. You're not obligated to keep people in your life who require you to be someone you're not. Ninth commitment, the courage practice. Once a month, do something that requires courage and will likely result in some disapproval. Speak up about something important. Set a major boundary. Make a choice that goes against others' expectations. Have a difficult conversation. You're building your capacity to tolerate disapproval, proving to yourself that you can survive it and even thrive despite it. 10th commitment, the celebration of authenticity. Each week, write down one moment where you chose authenticity over approval and celebrate it. Not in a public way, but privately. Acknowledge your courage, appreciate your integrity, thank yourself for honoring your truth. You're reinforcing the behavior you want to cultivate. Now, I want to address something crucial. Some of you might be thinking, but what about my job? I can't just let my boss hate me. What about family? I can't just accept my parents' disapproval without any emotional cost. And you're right, there are nuances here. When I say let them hate you, I'm not saying be reckless about important relationships or practical necessities. If your job requires certain professional standards, meet them. If your family relationships matter to you, handle them with care. The point is not to be unnecessarily provocative. The point is to stop contorting your authentic self to avoid all possible disapproval. Even in professional contexts, you can be authentic while professional. You can set boundaries while being respectful. You can disagree while being diplomatic. Even with family, you can honor yourself while honoring them. You can make your own choices while treating them with love. It's not about creating unnecessary conflict. It's about refusing to betray yourself to avoid all conflict. And yes, some disapproval will hurt, especially from people you care about. I'm not suggesting you become emotionally numb. Feel the hurt, acknowledge it, process it, but don't let that hurt make you abandon your authentic path. You can feel sad that someone disapproves while still knowing you made the right choice for yourself. These two things can coexist. Let me share one final story. There was a famous artist who created controversial work. He was beloved by some and hated by others. A young artist came to him and said, "I want to create meaningful art, but I'm afraid of being criticized. How do you handle all the people who hate your work?" The master artist smiled and said, "Let me tell you a secret. The people who hate my work, they're proof I'm doing something. If everyone loved everything I created, it would mean I'm playing it safe, creating bland work that offends no one and inspires no one. The criticism, the disapproval, the hatred, even these tell me I'm touching something real, something that provokes response. I'd be much more worried if everyone was indifferent." He continued, "Here's what I've learned: create from your truth, not from trying to please everyone. Some will love it, some will hate it. Both are fine. Both are proof you created something real. If you create trying to please everyone, you'll create nothing of value, so let them hate you. Let them disagree. Let them disapprove. Just make sure that what they're hating is the real you, not some compromise of yourself. Because if you're going to be disliked anyway, and you are, it's inevitable you might as well be disliked for who you actually are rather than for some diluted version of yourself. This is the wisdom I want you to take from today. You're going to be disliked by some people no matter what you do. This is not a failure. This is reality. So if disapproval is inevitable, why not be authentic? Why not live according to your values? Why not set boundaries that protect your well-being? Why not pursue paths that resonate with your soul? Why not speak truths that need speaking? Why not be exactly who you are without apology? Let them hate you for being real rather than like you for being fake. Let them disapprove of your authentic choices rather than approve of yourself, betraying compromises. Let them criticize your genuine path rather than praise your conformist mediocrity. Because at the end of your life, you won't regret that some people didn't like you. You'll regret that you didn't like yourself because you spent your life being whoever others wanted you to be. So starting today, give yourself permission. Permission to be yourself. Permission to say no. Permission to set boundaries. Permission to make choices others don't understand. Permission to pursue your path, even if it's unconventional. Permission to speak your truth, even if it's unpopular. Permission to prioritize your authenticity over their approval. Permission to let them hate you, because here's what will happen when you do this. Yes, some people won't like it. Some people will criticize. Some people will be disappointed, but simultaneously, something magical will happen. The right people, the people who resonate with the real you, will be drawn to you. Deep, authentic connections will form. You'll stop being exhausted from performance. You'll reclaim energy you were wasting on people pleasing. You'll discover who you actually are underneath all the masks. You'll experience a freedom you've never known. You'll start living your one precious life as yourself, rather than as everyone else's idea of who you should be. And years from now, when you look back, you won't remember the names of people who disapproved of you, but you will remember how you felt when you finally gave yourself permission to be authentic. You will remember the moment you stopped living for applause and started living for integrity. You will remember when you chose yourself. So go forward from here with this permission, this freedom, this understanding. Let them hate you, let them disapprove, let them judge, let them criticize, let them be disappointed. Their feelings are their responsibility. Your authenticity is yours. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your courage in considering this message, and thank you for your commitment to becoming more fully yourself. May you find the strength to live authentically. May you find peace in accepting that not everyone will approve. And may you discover the profound freedom that comes from being exactly who you are. Let them hate you, and in doing so, let yourself finally be free. Thank you.